And I come back to your original question about would you like to be on the ROX Tigers, and I think you'll find it's kind of a difficult question to answer because you're following in the footsteps of a team that will never be paralleled. This team that came from nowhere with no title sponsor, with no gaming house. You know, they eventually got all these things, but they struggled on the outside for 2 years, but they did the business on the Rift for 2 years. I think expectations are very different for the new ROX Tigers. They've rebranded in terms of logo, still the same name, but different fire to their current Tiger. And the book's kind of open on the new ROX Tigers. I feel like, you know, there's very much been the end of a chapter, the start of a new one. They weren't necessarily completely outclassed by KT Rolster, but they didn't look like winning that series either. And now it's Kongdoo, so we'll see how that one goes.
And we will. Straight into the draft we go. You can see here already Varus going to be taken off the board. Another player, Edge, somebody that's been known to pilot that pick, but Soul could always operate with it in the bottom lane. LeBlanc from the side of Kongdoo and Ash coming out from Tigers. So a lot of ADC focus from the ROX Tigers. Camille going to be the second ban from Kongdoo, and we can kind of expect that it's going to be Rengar coming out as well. Maybe the Kazakhs, but Rengar's definitely been the biggest one that's been that third and final ban.
I mean, double AD carry ban screams first pick AD carry. Jhin is Soul's most played, so that'll be the obvious one to take away. I really want to see Sungyun on the recently buffed Kalista. Kalista now doesn't drop in terms of spears, and Sungyun's best champion historically has been the Kalista. Now, Kalista in a tank meta, which it still feels like we're in, is sometimes tricky to pull off, so no guarantee we'll see it as early as this week. Maybe Coach of the Colossus needs to be hit a couple of times and tank itemization before we see the Kalista, but it will hit the Rift. ROX Tigers will play a Kalista game in 2017 spring.
I mean, we were surprised to see it at IEM Oakland when Veritas ran it in the bottom lane alongside Thresh. So completely different animal now that those buffs have come through. But so far, ROX going to start things off with the Jace pick. So still a lot of priority being paid to Jace.
But which is peculiar given they banned Varus and Ashe, which tells me they got something different coming, because the AD carry pool has basically been Varus, Ashe, Jhin. That's what we've seen ad nauseum. Sure, there's some room for some Ezreal, which may just be Sungyun's choice and be happy to play the matchup. Or maybe there will be something a bit more creative from the side of ROX Tigers bot lane. Speaking of creative,
and there you have it.
No one's banning it yet, but teams are certainly locking it in. It's 1-1. We saw a win from Bang yesterday. We saw a loss and it's locked in. So time to go to silly school, and it's back to the Ziggs bot lane from Sungyun.
All right, so let's see how this one's going to fare against the Jhin. Both are fairly long range.
I mean, this is also the most annoying duo to be in terms of sieging. So,
oh yeah,
is it time to just lock in Braum or ban Braum? This is one where suddenly the second round of picks gets interesting, because
let's just get a Xerath in the mid lane for Mickey.
Is script Sana off?
Yeah.
Whenever you see Xerath in the Korean server, you always have to be a bit suspicious. That's definitely the one. But, yep, Zyra there for laning power. Malzahar was banned, so the Malzahar Ziggs get free kills after level 6 lane was denied, but Zyra certainly packs some laning power. Now, it was this duo that didn't do so fantastically in the last series, and the lane counter is available. This has increasingly been, the first round has been basically AD carry support and something. AD carry support jungle, the most common. Jace is a flex pick, so AD carry support, flex pick, or jungle has been first rotation. And now it gets interesting, because ROX, with Ziggs and Jace, we know what they do well already. And do we see Kongdoo answer it with bans, or do they expect a pivot? Because it could just be a full-on poke siege comp from ROX Tigers.
Yep. Well, going back into the bans here, round 2, Kazakhs going to be the first one taken off the board by Kongdoo. So going to be trying to pinch down on that jungle pool now, as they already have the Elise locked in, trying to limit the options for Songwon. See where Tigers want to go with this one. It's going to be Syndra away from Edge in the mid lane.
For now, just banning away power. Could also, I mean, Jace honestly does pretty well against Syndra mid lane, so probably further cements that maybe Shia would be going back to his carry roots. His top lane Ryze was very famous once upon a time. He and Flame brought that into the meta after, I guess, 7 Ryze reworks ago. Who knows at this point? Well, he's in the second ban, so they want to keep Sungwon's champion pool a bit more constricted. Really interesting, because neither team is definitely locked into where they're going, but Kongdoo have pick options and Tigers have poke options, so you think you know where these teams are going. So far, the bans haven't really changed anything, because if any team I don't feel like Kha'Zix fit this team comp to begin with, for example.
Yeah. Well, just want to really take everything off the board that they possibly can. Cassiopeia going to be the final ban from the Tigers, so trying to limit as much as they can in the mid lane, but Ryze is available, will be locked in for Edge. So where do you want to go if you're the ROX Tigers? Because not having that Cassiopeia, a very good harassment tool against Ryze in mid, now no longer available for them.
I think it was between Ryze and Talia on the side of Kongdoo Monster. Those were kind of the picks that made the most sense when you have as much lockdown initiation as they had. You wanted something with pick nature, and Ryze can certainly do that.
Jace mid for Mickey, as the Maokai is locked in for Shy. So won't be seeing him go to those carry routes quite yet.
And the jungle. That's kind of the one where the pool's been hit pretty hard. There are still options. Rek'Sai, for example, will be passed over if we do see the Olaf lock, but Rek'Sai will be the more reliable conservative choice.
All right, well, they will go ahead and lock that one in to go up against Punch's Elise, which is going to be one of his biggest comfort champions. Now just going to be looking for this top lane for Kongdoo. We've seen it before. We've seen it twice now. This Singed could come out a third time.
Maokai's a little bit better against Singed than Poppy, but is still a good matchup for Singed. We talked about how against these tanks you can go Fiora, just try and assassinate with that tank shredding ability, or you can go Singed and get the farm and get the map pressure on and force the enemy jungler to camp up. Maokai, Rek'Sai have very low kill pressure onto a Singed unless we see further battle on the Rek'Sai and some other creative things and a real overextension, some turret shots onto Roach. Both these players, as far as we remember them, are tank specialists. Roach can play a bit of carry, but it's not his wheelhouse. Shy has basically been a tank-only player for the longest time now. Singed is always fun to track, one of my favorites for sure. Big benefactor of the way the meta is. I think both standard lanes and 10 bans have allowed Singed to open up, and let's see how it does here against Shy, someone who definitely knows is Singed.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw Ixu play it yesterday. Wasn't quite as clean. So now Roach going to be taking the same pick that a lot of the ROX Tigers' former teammate tried yesterday. We'll see how he is able to pilot that up in the top lane. But, I mean, overall, nothing too shocking coming out. Jace mid making a bit of a resurgence. That is, interesting to see that it's kind of moved back into the mid lane, not always just stuck up in the top. But another Ziggs game yet again here, Songyun coming in.
It's going to be a really interesting one. Return of Shy. Two teams who are expected to kind of struggle. One of them's going to push forward, finally get a win on the board. The other one, especially if it's ROX Tigers being 0-2, already looking like a long season.
Yeah, definitely want to come out with a win here and try to make that a 1-1 count as far as the matches are concerned. See if they're able to do so, or if Kongdoo are going to give them a run for their money, because again, this squad having stuck together since the Challengers, since they qualified through back into the LCK through Challengers in the promotion tournament, they've looked really good.
And then ROX Tigers, very hard to get a read on. This Afrika lineup, when they weren't running Ixu, when they weren't running Lyra, struggled more often than not. So we have a pause in-game, just so you know, guys, we're taking a little bit more time to go through the lineups. Rek'Sai versus Elise, Invader's advantage for Elise, but someone's going to have his hands full, I think, dealing with the Singed problem in top lane. Or you just abandon it and try and make the plays elsewhere.
And that's always the trade-off that you have to make when it comes to the Singed, especially if he goes full-blown proxy. Don't think that we're going to be seeing that here from Roach. It is a possibility, but it is a bit of a gamble. But, how do you go about deciding if you're the ROX Tigers? Do we try to just lock down the Singed, kill him repeatedly, or do we just let him do his thing, win the rest of the lanes, and then just get ahead, so far ahead that we do enough damage that the Singed doesn't matter? I
mean, in the mid lane matchup, we have seen a bit of Jace mid only because it can itemize into Hex Drinker very safely and get through hard matchups. Pretty good matchup against Syndra. In this game, it's mostly because they've got the Ziggs bot lane, so they need to get physical damage from somewhere, and the mid lane is where they're going to find it. Shy, a different day, maybe would have been frisky enough to go for the top lane Jace, but doesn't really seem in his pool anymore. And Zyra versus Misfortune. A year ago, madness in the bot lane. Now, as standard can be.
Yep, nothing too shocking there. And honestly, the MF is going to complement that Jhin fairly well. But let's go ahead, get right onto the Rift for this first game, and see who's going to come out on top. ROX Tigers versus Kongdoo Monster in their LCK Season 7 debut. Just kidding.
He looked good for a second there.
Yeah, it was. We were running decently well, and then we had another pause come through. So it looks like we might have a little bit of an issue inside the ROX Tigers booth, so we'll be getting that taken care of so we can get the game underway. But I was just about to say, as we loaded into the game, this MF can complement the Jhin quite well. We've moved away, from these big armor pen or lethality builds from the Jhin, but now with Misfortune coming into the bottom lane, Black Cleaver, a staple item pickup, so that armor shred does come through for her, so Jhin doesn't have to worry about building that so much.
I think just simply in terms of a lane trading situation, very easy to set up the Deadly Flourish when there's such massive range on the Make It Rain that sure, Make It Rain doesn't do that much damage, but sets up the Deadly Flourish. Jhin does the rest from there, so powerful laning phase, and standard lanes what brought Singed back, and it's the reality, so that's why you see mages and very rarely some melee supports.
Yep. But Punch, we'll have to see how he's going to do. He's been a little bit shaky. Definitely a good addition for this roster.
I think that's harsh in terms of his most recent data point was shaky. He was poor at IEM Gyeonggi. Was it the scenario? Was his first international tournament? Hard to say. Throughout Challenger and the Challenger promotion, he was deadly. He was very strong. His Nidalee, I guess, no longer a big factor, but Nidalee was a big pick for him. Another one of those peanut school of new age junglers that plays invading junglers most confidently. So, I mean, shaky, again, he was so consistent before Gyeonggi, then poor at Gyeonggi. So, gets to make his big re-debut, I guess his LCK debut, because he's never played in LCK outside those promotion matches. Only player from Kongdoo that wasn't on the roster last time we saw them in the LCK.
Sure. I mean, so Nidalee has really fallen off the face of the planet. I mean, I kind of want to go off of that one because you do bring it up. Do you think that there is a context in the current meta 7.1 that we do see Nidalee come back onto the table? Or is she just pretty much like out of there?
I think
we've seen some really constricted jungle pools, but Nidalee has not even been hovered yet.
She's still a really edge case. There's been some love taps in terms of buffs to her that kind of incrementally pushing her forward. Anecdotally, when I play solo queue, Nidalee's can still go off, but before her power farming and her ganking were both strengths. Now the power farming's toned down a little bit. The ganking's still strong, so there are edge cases I think where Nidalee could come in, especially Maokai top lane, Ryze mid lane, lots of setup CC. The spear hits, you get the kill. So I think we might see it, but in terms of it being super meta or the first pick, first ban status that we saw for a year and a half, I think it's a buff away from that.
Okay. Well, you never know. Sometimes, I mean, we got a Scion.
Really finds a way.
We got a Scion in top lane just the other day, so I wouldn't be too shocked if we do see Nidalee come out if we get multiple jungle bans. But for the time being, I guess she's just going to disappear into the nether, and we'll see her eventually.
But we're not going to disappear into the nether because Songyun has a keyboard problem, is what we were told.
We are stuck here. So Songyun, yeah, we'll have to try to get that taken care of. You can see we have the ADs working on this feverishly right now.
I assume they're working on getting a new keyboard rather than fixing his current keyboard. I don't know if they're coded for that.
We could have a keyboard tech just standing by. It'd be a really niche job.
Yep.
But
an important job for this particular context.
I mean, you can find that in Korea, I'm sure. I mean, there's that massive keyboard shop just not that far. Well, it's in Yongsan.
That's true.
So a little ways away, but
once upon a time, not far away. We used to be near Yongsan Station, which
I
is
almost psyched myself out.
That's true. Famous landmark in Korea, big transit train station. Now over in Sangam, hence why we call it Sangam East Stadium or OGN East Stadium. That's the suburb that we're in now.
I mean, we went from being in the original studio that was on top of a mall.
Yep.
Next to a soccer field that was also on top of a mall.
I mean, we are still on floor, I believe, 15 or 16 highs. I think it's technically 15.
We're kind of in between
14 and 15?
Yeah, well, I guess at this level we're kind of 15. I don't know. The studio spans 3 different floors.
That's true.
It's a little hard to discern exactly where we are as far as our placement goes. But
we are far above the fans, which, naturally, unfortunately, creates some superiority complex. Being an LCK caster.
I mean, there's people up in the nosebleeds that are above us.
Not that many right now.
No, yeah, that's true. Not many.
When the Afrika and Samsung fans vacated, slightly less fans. Kongdoo definitely still building their fan base. And the ROX Tigers,
I mean,
there are more Afrika fans, there are more SKT fans, there are more KT fans. Probably someone went to follow Cry at EDG, but predictably, it's going to take a while for this new ROX Tigers to build the name that they had once upon a time.
Yep. Definitely need to prove themselves. You can see, though, audience members, they span all ages, and that man, he is knocked out. He's like, oh, this pause. Woke up right at the end. But not in time to see himself on the big screen.
So close.
Yeah.
So near, yet so far.
So far. But, yeah, that man is operating on, like, my old sleep schedule.
And Kongdoo Monster are operating on your taking off your jacket level, because, of course, they are very smartly dressed now. If you follow Overwatch, they wear overalls for some reason.
I don't know why they have
It's pretty cool that they have
odd
overalls and suit and tie.
but the suit and tie just look so much
They look
better
dapper.
than the
They look
overalls.
very dapper.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan.
Is this Kongdoo like talking about their fandom of League of Legends, being like, I don't know about this Overwatch thing, overalls, I guess. Maybe they saw
It's too
Ghostbusters
new.
and they were like, this is cool.
What?
Overalls?
Oh, I see. Okay. Well,
My
those are-
reference was all right there.
I mean,
don't look at me that way.
those are like full blown like onesie.
Onesies?
Yeah, kind of.
They're wearing onesies?
It's kind of a onesie.
They should wear onesies. Monster onesies.
hazmat suit that they got going
It's
on.
good that they updated that logo, because the onesies would have been weird before.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see a League of Legends team come out in a bunch of onesies. That would be interesting. They sell the Tibbers onesie now on the
That's true.
on the Riot store, so you can always get the.
I don't know if you can use that as your logo, like iconography, or like your get-up.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Modify it. You're like, this isn't Tibbers. This is something else. Just give it another name. Just I don't know. Change it up a little bit.
I mean, things are a little bit different in Korea. I was actually inquiring about the sweet new KT jackets that they're wearing, but see,
So
unfortunately, the
disappointing.
thing with these large telecom members, where budgets are a bit different when it comes to things like merchandise, is that they just kind of go to a big manufacturer, in this case the North Face, and just say, make us 6 cool jackets. And then if I want one, they're just like, well, we only made 6.
They
You're
could
like,
make so many more cool jackets.
Where's my
and
cool
sell them
jacket?
at a premium.
I still the one thing that's always eluded me for League of Legends merchandise was to get the General's jacket, the famous Dade jacket that he gave to Pawn. Pawn's here now.
Go ask him. You never know.
I don't know if it's going to fit me. I might have to get expanded. But I mean, putting it on the wall also would be pretty cool.
Just have the have our.
That's a one-of-a-kind thing.
Have our makeup
Match
and
worn. That's kind of a thing, like I know in wrestling they're like match worn tights, which for some reason people want. A match worn Dade jacket, that's pretty cool.
Sounds a little bit gross, but
Hey, people like what they like.
That's
I don't
true.
own any. I don't judge anyone that does.
Well, if you manage to get the jacket and it doesn't fit, just take it to our makeup and costume girls, and they'll expand it for you. So I mean, obviously
Korean
you guys
sizing.
haven't been able to see it because it was on the back last season, though. But Papa's
to their
shirt
credit,
was,
they've at least learned.
yeah, but Papa's shirt originally was much too
It
small.
was
last
ballooned.
season.
I didn't put on weight. They just misjudged me horribly, even though they took measurements.
Yep.
I don't know what
So,
that was about.
I think that they were just
I think this- maybe it
making
was
it
a-
look like they were taking measurements, but they were really
No.
just
See,
spitballing
you know what it actually was? It was like a girlfriend hint when they're like, seems too small for you. Maybe you should lose some weight.
Maybe
and
you
it's
should.
like,
Oh, if you slim down a little bit, I think
it's
this
like
would
you
fit
took my
you.
measurements. Like, you should know this. And they're like, oh, for some reason, I think, maybe you need to. And I would check the scales, and I'm like, what happened here?
So he just ended up with a giant camouflage patch in the middle of his back,
Which
on his
led to
shirt.
depression and ice cream, and here we are.
Yep. And
Now they
you
just buy bigger clothes.
Yeah, now you just gotta get bigger clothes in the end. But hey, man, I don't know. But I wish you best of luck on your quest to get the General's jacket.
I mean, China was far away. He's in Korea now. Eventually, we'll see KT at this studio. He'll probably try to avoid me. I'll bring some backup.
I think
corner
we
him.
see them Saturday, actually. Now that I think about it.
Look at that schedule. We've got the time now.
We have BBQ Olivers versus KT Rolster on Friday.
Ooh, that's going to be a competitive. Well, I mean, both of them are 1-0.
I mean, I'm excited for the match, but I'm also excited to see if they bring the fried chicken truck back, because I could do with that right now, actually.
We probably should eat it off the broadcast. Yesterday, we
had our one-off with that one, so...
you say one-off. We could still return to it. Though Monty returned to Star Wars jokes, why can't we return to eating fried chicken?
That's true. That's a good point. We can always do that, but hopefully they have the chicken truck. But
Please hire me for Worlds. Some of my famous things are eating fried chicken on your stream.
I mean, if Riot is, Riot is now open to selling sponsorships and everything.
That's true.
For being on screen, so very well could have a fried chicken sponsorship.
Yeah.
Who would you get? I mean, I guess it depends on where.
I mean,
Worlds
Korea,
would-
it's very difficult.
Well, yeah.
I mean, one day, hopefully, there'll be another Worlds in Korea, and when that does happen, and if they do choose fried chicken sponsor, it's going to be difficult.
We'll have to see where it goes. I mean, if it was in America, you could get KFC or Popeyes, something like that, to be
Where
a
do you
big
fall?
sponsor.
So, I mean, obviously, you're more familiar with the American chicken chains. We're in Korea, where it's kind of spoiled for choice. A lot of Korean fried chicken is the same, but slightly changed. Sauces are different. Where do you fall on the American? Because, I mean, KFC, Southern Fried Chicken, I guess, I've seen around. Popeyes, of course, is famous. What's number one? What's up there?
It's so hard because you're really just trying to pick the best-looking piece of crap. I think all American fried chicken chains aren't that great. There's an executive from Popeyes.
See, now you do realize that as you
can.
continue this, your potential future sponsorship options are going down.
That's true.
You're supposed to say they're all equally amazing. I mean, spoiled for choice.
I would probably pick Popeyes, but again, not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of American fast food chains in general, unless it's Taco Bell.
Really?
Taco Bell.
That's your one.
Yeah.
So Lifetime, the whole desert island. You're on a desert island, and for some reason that's cool fast food chain there. Weird. But.
It's one of those things that I never feel good about eating,
but
it's always delicious, and I just can't help it. But McDonald's, every now and then get a McDouble, something like that. But the one that I think that everybody overhypes is In-N-Out in California. Everyone always freaks out about In-N-Out.
This chat's not happy right now, just to be clear.
Well, we can't tell.
The people that like In-N-Out really like In-N-Out.
Oh, I know.
Swear by it.
My girlfriend is one of those people. And
she's probably not watching.
We've had she's asleep, but we've had many an argument over In-N-Out because I don't know. I don't get the hype. When I moved to California, working for Team Liquid, they're like, "Oh, we got to take you to In-N-Out. You never had In-N-Out before?" And I was just like, "Oh no, but I've heard a lot of good things, so I'm willing to try it." And I tried it, and I was just like, "Man, you guys really ruined it because you really hyped this up, and it just didn't deliver."
Well, I did my broadcast prep when I was at Worlds, and that wasn't looking at stats and watching VODs like you might think. I did that as well. But I knew I needed to try every one of those America-only chains. Because I lived in Dubai, and we got Red Lobster. We got a lot of the things that kind of went international.
Boy.
But some of them don't go international. Chipotle, for example, had to try that. I've had that. In-N-Out, another one that hasn't gone international. Five Guys. So now I actually do speak American fast food. I can speak to you about these quintessentially American products because I've tried them.
You want me to drop another bit of blasphemy?
Blasphemy, you say?
Yeah.
What you got over there, Achilles?
Chipotle, it's overrated. It's not great.
I mean,
overpriced.
Okay, that's probably fair. It hits the spot, and you feel a little bit less bad about yourself eating it.
I think it depends on where you. Okay, so I should actually rope this off because there's a lot of people in esports that live in LA and they freak out about Chipotle, and they have so many good, actual authentic Mexican
Are you being really?
cuisine.
You're doing the hipster thing here, where you're like just the mom and pops every time, right?
No, street tacos, man. Every
Street
time.
tacos. That's the ultimate mom and pop.
Yeah, you gotta
really.
go. You gotta go to a food truck and make some really good street tacos. You get those, and bam, it's way better than pretty much any Mexican chain that you go to, including Taco Bell. Because that's not really Mexican.
Okay, at least you brought it back to Taco Bell.
Yeah. So
Just like you guys might think we're going to bring it back to League of Legends, but we're not. There's no League of Legends to talk
We're
about.
about 15 minutes into this pause, but we're just going to keep it rolling.
Hey, I've learned recently that it gets to 0, and then
then it just counts into the negatives for a while.
And then you know what happens after a couple of those minutes? Because it gets red as it gets close to 0. Then it gets to the negative, and then it says, pause for a while. It basically says that. It literally has a text and doesn't even give you a number anymore. And that's when you know that it's going to be a long, long pause.
We saw that one at IEM Oakland, actually, the one time, and I was like, what's going to happen when it hits 0? And then it just goes -1, -2.
And then text.
And
text comes next.
And then the numbers just stop, and then you just sit there until
But that hasn't always been the case. They must have added that due to longer and longer pauses.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I was casting online with Pastry Time. I think it was IGWE, so a really big China game. Back when those two were at their full power, and the game paused a couple of times. I assume it was just connection issues, because back in the day, these international tournaments, when they were played on the internet, were actually played on the Singapore tournament realm between China and Korea, so kind of halving the ping issues. And there were some connection issues. And after a couple of pauses, there was this issue, and they didn't communicate it to us at first, but it turned out that the Jarvan couldn't auto-attack.
Wow.
This literally couldn't auto-attack, so they unpaused, paused it, couldn't fix that problem. The timer hit 0, still couldn't auto-attack. We got a full remake 35 minutes into a game of a final.
Speaking of the timer reaching 0, looks like we might have our problem taken care of.
We might do.
Oh,
Let's get into
here we
it.
go. Let's go ahead and watch the intro again. Okay, seems like everything is taken care of.
Understandably, the fans a little bit fatigued after extended break, but hopefully the quality League of Legends will bring us back, as Shy isn't playing Rumble, by the way, OGN. Even that person fell asleep.
All right. So mistakes were made, but we're back in the game. Looks like they got the Keystone Mastery correct, at least, so that one's taken care of. But, all right, just a brief recap. We do have a Singe in the top lane here for Roach. And now a bit of an invade coming in from the ROX Tigers. Mickey, Songwon, and Shy will be pushing through. Throw that ward over the wall. So Punch and Roach are aware. They'll peel back away from the red buff, and it's going to be a big delay for Punch. Songwon looks like he's not going to stick around long enough to take that red. Saw that ward come down from the Singed. So he'll just move over and get these Raptors instead, but Punch is here. This is looking oddly reminiscent of our first series.
And the Invader's advantage at the start. But Jace, even though he is stronger level 1 than Arise, isn't pulling up. He is playing on the left side, so there's more. I mean, Jace has an inside track to help out, but obviously will be very telegraphed when he does. So for now, just sharing experience. Both junglers going to be less of a factor, and that does probably suit Kongdoo Monster more than it does the ROX Tigers, because hey, if Sin's just playing true 1v1 with no jungler, he's pretty happy. Someone's just literally chilling.
Yeah, this is a game of chicken of who is going to go for the Raptor. Both have wards, so they see this, but it looks like Punch is going to go ahead and pull away. Songwon will be open to take away this big Raptor. That was about a 3-minute back and forth battle over one camp.
But what it does mean is that ROX now own the top side, and Singed will have to be slightly more conservative, I guess is the best way to say it. As Mickey tanks the minions for far too long and gives up most of his health bar. That was pretty poor stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, if Edge had a bit more mana, could have flashed forward, try to go for that Rune Prison with the exhaust and maybe come up with the first blood. But Mickey definitely going to have to watch himself a bit closer. Already used that health potion to take himself back up. So for now, Edge is going to have a bit of an advantage in this mid lane. We'll keep our eyes on this one. Soul opting to go for the longsword start as opposed to the Doran's Blade. So we'll have a couple more of those biscuits.
I think we saw Prey. I believe Prey did this in his first game for Longzhu. Bit of a change, I agree, but just means really fast serrated Dirk. It's probably going to be the build that Prey showed us on day 1 of the tournament, which is Yoma's Ghost Blade into Infinity Edge. Still have that armor penetration, I guess lethality more accurately, into the Infinity Edge for really strong fourth shot and full shot on the ultimate. So rushing Yomu still very much in vogue despite the lethality changes.
Yep, you can see just a lot of poking back and forth coming through. Cougar going low, gonna have to hang away from these minions, so Songyun just can't get that instant pop on the Q-bomb. For now, Soul, he'll be maintaining CS pretty decently against this. You can see Punch going for a really aggressive invade at the red buff. He'll be able to take this one away.
It's a little bit much to call it an invade just because it was after He's taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, heal comes out from Songyun. Flash forward, last shot, not enough from Soul. Almost had it. Punch, he's waiting in the wings. Can he find this? Would be able to close the distance with a repel. Here we go. First blood coming through. Kongdoo Monster pick it up. Nice pathing by Punch, but flashes away. Flash forward by Songwon. Gets the knock up. Songyun out of mana. The heal from Soul. Enough to keep him alive. Nicely done. Kongdoo communicating well in that dire situation. Able to walk away with the first blood, but they had to use a hell of a lot to get it. Exhaust from Cougar, both summoners from Soul, and the flash out of Punch.
Yeah, crucially, Songyun out of mana, no mana. A W there to knock him back would have been a kill. Another Q would have been a kill, but didn't have it. Songyun can't make much happen. With 31 CS, he probably can still get the first buy he wants, which is Lost Chapter. We'll see if that's still a possibility, but the reason why I said the invade shouldn't necessarily have been kind of so called out is that it was vertical jungling. ROX Tigers took over the enemy red, then their own blue, and so the red buff made sense in the bot lane. The lane was in a good spot as well. Fortunately, we have another pause. We'll wait and see if we get information about it. I imagine it's not a keyboard issue anymore.
Yeah, it seems like it's still coming from within the booth of the ROX Tigers, though. So just having a couple of issues. Hopefully we can get this one taken care of relatively quickly so we can get back into this one. Because we finally got our first blood, finally started things off. And would like to keep that ball rolling so we can see how this is going to unravel here for both of these teams, or how this is going to develop. Because again, ROX Tigers having that 0-2 finish against KT Rolster just 2 days ago, haven't been able to put, you know, a map win on the board yet. So certainly want to turn their luck around.
They won at least a 3-game series. Obviously, a win 2-0 would be lovely, but ROX Tigers need to pick up a game win here because their schedule doesn't get any easier. They actually have some really tough matchups in the next couple of weeks. So this is definitely the most winnable series, whether it's from a game or overall series perspective for them. And Kongdoo want to impress. Kongdoo are coming in having made it to a final. They are coming in looking good. A lot of analysts are predicting them to finish very safe of the relegation spots. So glorious debut for Punch especially is what they'd be looking for. And Punch has the first blood, so far so good.
You know, oddly enough, both of these teams will have to play against SK Telecom within the next couple days. It's going to be Sunday for Kongdoo Monster, and then Tuesday here for the ROX Tigers. So, as you say, big, crucial win for either side. Kongdoo definitely want to kick things off with a bang in their first match back in LCK. But can't have matches if you have tech delays with your peripherals. Oddly enough, you need a keyboard and a mouse to play this game.
True story. True story, Achilles. We don't have any more information about what this latest development is. We'd love to see some more League of Legends, but for now, we just get to look at the still very smartly dressed members of Kongdoo Monster. Jackets are off.
So they really went for the one-up over Jin Air, because Jin Air has the shirts that have
the fake.
The decal tie that is placed on it.
Yeah, Inori, when he was doing the second stream over at Worlds, actually had one of those shirts. Looked pretty deceptive. Sometimes they do really look... They're interesting. I don't know what prompted that. I mean, you understand it looks like a tie, but you don't have to wear a tie. Get the mechanics behind it, but I don't know if that was popularized somewhere.
Well, not sure, but either way, Kongdoo Monster going the extra mile, actually putting the ties on. But for now, it's going to be figuring out the issue. Still looks like it is coming from Songyun's side of things. Well, either way, hopefully we just get that taken care of quickly. We can dive back into the game and enjoy some more League of Legends.
Taking a pick at the items and kind of the game state on our side monitor where we see the game paused. Pause timer is at 10:30, if you're wondering. Everything's pretty standard. No big gold lead. I guess the Ziggs once again losing lane is a bit unfortunate, but while Songwon owning the top side, i.e. the enemy red and his blue, helped out the Maokai in terms of pressure from Sin. Definitely can't proxy when, you know, Rek'Sai's on that side of the jungle. It also has the flow-on effect of the enemy bot lane, knowing that Ziggs and Zyra don't have their jungler on their side of the map, so makes it more difficult to push. As we're going to get a replay of the kill. Deadly Flourish missed here. The exhaust here onto Soul's actually really, really good. Would have just died straight up to the auto attack from Key, but pathing from Elise, who had stolen the enemy red buff, kind of under the nose of the Rek'Sai, was pretty clear. And then you just see Songyun completely out of mana. At this point, sitting on about 20 mana, so he gets a short fuse auto attack. No more. A Q there, wouldn't have got into heal range, would have got the answering kill, double buffs as well. Ziggs with double buffs would have changed a lot, but not to be.
Yeah, that would have been a hell of a lot of harass, actually. Just constant bombs, short fuse with a red buff. Is consistently working down your enemy, but unfortunate for ROX. Not able to come out with an answering kill, so Kongdoo just have that slight little lead. Though, I mean, this has given Songwon a lot of time in the jungle, 26-9. So, I mean, first blood, obviously there for Punch, going to be really good. Keep him even in gold, but definitely needs to get back into the jungle and start farming up so he can maintain that advantage.
And we'll see what that CS translates into. If it's a Tiamat and then you go aggressive and kill the enemy Elise, then happy days from the side of ROX Tigers. But as you say, 400 gold versus some of those smaller jungle minions that only grant the 10 gold, like, for example, the Raptors.
Small Krugs.
Small Krugs. To be fair, the smallest Krugs also give 10 gold, so it's happy times for gold at least. Experience was nerfed on 7.1. Just to reaffirm if you're joining late, we are dealing with a keyboard issue as far as we can tell for Songyun. Been paused for about 21.5 minutes now. We are on patch 7.1. Teemo is disabled.
I still love that that for whatever reason.
Hey, there was a time when we wouldn't, like, for example, if it's a champion that was completely out of meta, sometimes you just wouldn't talk about disabled champions, but we had 2 Teemos. 2 of them back in LCK, as we're actually hearing that we're going to get back into game very shortly, hopefully.
Yep, seems like clock ticking down yet again, so we should be able to dive back in here. So hopefully we have everything taken care of and don't have any more issues as we jump back into the game, because I'm ready for some more League of Legends. We have plenty of League of Legends actually coming up with, I believe, EU LCS starting in less than 24 hours, Papa Smithy.
Yeah, it's exciting. A lot of Korean players now over to EU LCS. I know for one, I'm super excited to see what to make of Kakao in 2017. I'm hoping Kakao in 2017 LOL doesn't become a meme, but you know, he's got a lot to prove. After struggling in the LSPL, the ROX Tigers lineup, I'd say they have a lot to prove, but I mean, no one's going, will they make it to the final like they did last season? Like, that's just not a piece of logic that you
expectation has kind of gone out the window.
Well, when everything changes, like they lost their like social media manager, their coach, all 6 players. Like, you can't lose any more than that.
I mean, honestly, I really enjoy the mentality of the Afrika Freaks, as you brought up with that wristband that they gave you. You know, Afrika Freaks Worlds 2017, because a lot of the teams in their preseason interviews have said, like, yeah, we're going to do our best, we want to make it into the final, but SKT's probably going to win Worlds. And they just have that acceptance, whereas Afrika Freaks are like, you know what? We're going to Worlds, we're going to win it.
Yes, you say that. I see it more as we're going to attend Worlds 2017, not necessarily win Worlds 2017, which, guess what? SKT can attend, but Afrika can also win. So
that's true.
I think it's more of a participation medal they're seeking rather than necessarily the win.
Maybe they're just saying that they're ready to book their flights to wherever Worlds is going to be held.
I mean, if they book them now, I imagine Riot might be willing to tell them. If they book them now, they'll get a discount, I guess.
I don't even know if there would be flights available at this point for October, end of September, whenever it's going to be this time
usually
around.
More than 6 months out is probably a tricky one. But I assume the timetable will be the same. It hasn't made any announcements for international event locations just yet. They announced, of course, that NALCS finals should be back in Canada.
Yeah, I think it's in
British Columbia, if I'm not mistaken.
I forget. Is it Vancouver?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
It is in Vancouver.
Yeah, so Vancouver. So that'll be fun, showing the Canadian crowds some
I'm
love.
willing to announce that I believe the LCK final will be in Seoul. I don't know that for 100%, but, you know.
We're going to the Bahamas, baby.
It's not Busan weather is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not having a beach final during freezing winter. At least, please, OGN, if you're listening, don't do that.
I mean, it might not be that as cold. It's not going to be that cold by the time that the...
it's like the end of cold,
the
still
spring
sort
final
of
rolls
rainy
around.
season, so...
That's true.
It's still not beach weather.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's never beach weather.
Why?
I don't like the beach.
What's wrong with the beach?
Lots of things. It's like, you know, Cougar being stuck in the river right now has to flash over the wall.
He had to use exhaust himself, but didn't have to flash, even though they turned on to him.
Oh, right. I was talking with this about to Doa when I was doing Overwatch with him the other day. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the beach. A lot of people are like, oh, I love the feeling of sand between my toes. I actually abhor it.
So get in the water, and then the sand washes off, Achilles.
Okay, but then I'm in the water, and I also don't like the ocean.
I mean, what's to dislike about this? It's a body of water. Like, what's the problem? Do you not like baths either? How do you feel about showers, Achilles?
I know everything that's in
You
a
are
bath.
smelling a little bit, you know.
Oh, thank you. It's so hot in here, Pop. No, I know everything that's in a bath, whereas there's millions of creatures that could devour me if I swim out too far.
You just strike me as someone who's like petrified of Australia, just by
Oh,
reputation.
I mean, I look. There's like 2 phobias that I have: thalassophobia and arachnophobia.
I'm not going to repeat the first one.
Thalassophobia.
What's that about?
It's just fear of, I don't know, deep water.
Okay. Sounds like fear of something else that wouldn't be broadcast friendly.
Okay, yep. Dolan also brought this up when we were talking about this. It starts with a TH, Papa.
Look, Kongdoo Monster
Not a
changed
PH.
their logo, okay?
That's true. I wouldn't be able to cast Kongdoo Monster if I had that, what you're talking about. If you guys can't figure it out, just use your imagination.
We're all about the power of imagination.
Your
here on the
R-rated
LCK.
imagination.
We're not rated for R, actually, so we should avoid that.
Yep.
What are we? M? PG? I think we're M.
Well, this is a television. Well, theirs is a television.
I'm pretty sure any
so.
LCS has a rating on it.
Does it?
I think so.
It would have to be T for teen, right, to go along with the game?
I guess so. That's what I was thinking. Okay, it is T for teen. Okay. That makes sense.
I mean, there's no cigars.
I know.
So it's definitely not rated M. Plus, you're Australian. I can't even imagine what your M rating would be.
We have M15.
M15?
It's like 15 years of age and above to go to that movie.
Well, I know what it implies. I'm just trying to contemplate what would be involved in that movie. Because we have PG-13.
Yeah, we have that too.
You have a 13 and a 15 rating?
Yeah.
Why?
And an R18 rating. I don't think we have an X rating. That one we don't have.
That's so weird.
Or maybe we got it recently. I forget. I've been out of
we
Australia a while.
Well, we don't have an X rating anymore. We have NC-17. Which is basically, if you get an NC-17 rating, no one will see your movie in theaters.
You can't sell it in stores, right?
You can sell it, but you can't. Theaters won't take it. They usually consider it as being too risky. So actually, one of the cool things that happened, there was a documentary made, I believe it was just called Bully, and
Video game called Bully as well.
yeah, there is that, Rockstar Games. But AMC Theaters thought that the movie was so important, and it got slapped with an NC-17 rating. They said, you know what, we're going to show this in our theaters, which was really cool for a movie theater to do, because not many other chains would take that risk. So they decided to do it. Watched it. Pretty good.
Now you just send movies on Netflix. You don't really worry about ratings anymore.
Yeah, you can always see it there. So. I mean, Netflix is also, they helped produce a documentary, I think. It was Netflix. About, maybe I'm thinking before Netflix's time. I forget. But it was actually about NC-17 ratings. So it was just about, you know, they went and talked to directors, you know, Matt and Trey Parker from South Park about their original cut for their movie. And it was just a lot of interviewing, you know, like, you know, what was in your movie that gave you this rating? How do you try to negotiate with the MPAA, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty fascinating documentary.
I'm going to put a rating on this game, be Z for boring. Nothing's happening.
Yep. This is about as bad as Game 2 of BBQ
I mean,
versus...
no one has any momentum. That's the issue, is that with all those pauses, it's very, very hard as a professional player. You know, it's nothing to do, like, obviously there's casters you have to fill, and that can be frustrating or fun depending on the mood you're in, but for the players, you know, you get yourself so worked up, you play that practice game, you expect to go in and then to have, you know, accumulated about 30 minutes of delay. It's a struggle,
yeah.
Honestly. Didn't even talk about the Dank Seal build. 3 Dank Seals. I actually misspoke last time that we saw the multiple Dark Seal build. I wrongly intuited that you could get extra. I thought of it as extra regeneration because that's what obviously what you think about from potions and corrupting potion and thus interacting with the Singed ultimate, but in fact it is just from potions.
Yep. No, just from those 3 corrupting potion charges, which means that you'll be holding on to that.
It's still very cost effective.
Quite some time.
It's still very cost effective. You get a lot of value, and you don't really need to build anything else to Singe. You get a Catalyst and you're kind of K, so it still is a really nice new build that does help Singe get through from some of the trades in lane, so it's still good.
Ah, yes, those hefty trades from the Maokai.
I mean, Maokai's base values aren't awful, especially when you're not planning to build Magic Resist anytime soon. He's going to go Righteous Glory into, I guess, Zarot Portal. That's been kind of the standard build from Singe so far.
The anti-fun build.
I mean, the Singe just having fun.
Oh, sure, but whenever the Singe is having fun, most everybody else is not. Good harass coming out of the bottom lane finally here from Kongdoo Monster. They'll get the recall out from Songyun. He already threw the ultimate to try to clear the wave and minimize the amount of damage that'll go through on the turret. So you can see they won't be able to get a whole lot. Of course, the Jhin, not the most adept when it comes to clearing those out.
I'd really like to see Rek'Sai play more around the bot side. After the first blood went down, I thought it was time to just start clearing bot side, pushing wards down bot side, because Ziggs and Zyra playing defensively, they're both swishy, you know, they both open up and you just wait for the curtain call to kind of take someone down. And the fact that Soul has a 25 CS lead and could just go so well with long sword, you know, 3 potions into straight up Youmu's and the swiftness boots. There's been no pressure whatsoever from the ROX Tigers on the bot side, and you lose a lot of Ziggs if you're not executing the first turret and rotating. If you're playing so defensively. He's in the mid lane. Mickey, as he's going to trade with, there's a kill off screen that we're going to have to get back to. Mickey trading edges here as well.
Songyun went down. And now Songwon coming in, gets rooted with a root prison, knocks up Edge, but hasn't gotten much damage in. Actually, Roach gonna come in off that teleport. Guger comes over the wall, trying to slow up Mickey with that Make It Rain. That's the ooze thrown down, but still can't close the gap. Keith throws out the ultimate just in case. So Mickey makes it out with his life, but Songyun did die off screen, so we're going to have to take a look at that one. Looks like it might have just been a curtain call snipe out by Soul.
I mean, both ults down, so you can kind of guess what happened, but we'll get a video confirmation of that. Songyun full health, walked up. And this is what we're talking about, is that if you don't have any pressure, if you're not Ziggs under the enemy turret, getting hits in, looking to execute and rotate, you're just squishy mages getting assassinated by the early power of a build like the Yoma's Ghostblade Rush from Soul. So I liked what ROX Tigers did, just to heap some pressure onto Singed and maybe stop early proxy. But then you needed to go the next level and say, okay, we drafted Ziggs Zyra. We need this lane to overextend. My job is to own the bot side jungle. And Songwon, crucially, did not do that.
Yep. And this is really going to give the upper hand now over to Soul. Once he gets rolling on this Jhin, he is quite the formidable opponent at 1-0-1. Kick things off and comes back into lane with a BF sword on top of that Yomo's Ghostblade, so he's going to be in a really nice spot. Ricky missing that shock blast. Really going to hurt him in these exchanges. You see Edge really winning out in that regard.
And his item build is actually a nerf to Jace. You used to be able to go straight at Dirk into the more Malmortius and both win trades and also have the more, so naturally very, very strong against a mage. But cooldown reduction does help some carries, but I feel like Jace really craved that armor penetration and no longer so easy to itemize into it early.
Yeah, surprised that he went the full mile with the Maul Mortius, not just the Hex Drinker to start things off, because obviously, like Edge early on, not going to have a whole lot of damage, just stacking up the tier. The Rod of Ages will help him out a little bit, but again, something that just has to build up over time. But just went for the full item instead of, getting that Yomo's Ghostblade to kick things off.
I mean, against Ryze, you kind of have to take Exhaust because of the all-ins.
Sure.
And Exhaust plus more, maybe Mickey thought he'd actually win out, akin to going Ignite on other mid laners. Or just taking damage, but...
I'll just pop that ultimate.
Yep, he's fine. They're just laughing at each other.
Shy. Yep, that is the fight that we don't need to see, observers.
Yeah, no proxy. The wave clear from Maokai is better than Poppy's. For some reason now, we get this delay.
Hey, you've been playing League of Legends for...
This is a delay that's unique to the Korean server. There is, every hour, there's a pop-up that says that you've been playing for an hour, 2 hours, consider taking a break.
Be 4 hours at this point.
It's never been in the Observer client before, but here you go.
A little bit odd. But yeah, I mean, that stems from, actually, some people might not know this, some people definitely do, but to play League of Legends in Korea, to play a lot of different games and register for websites and whatnot, you actually have to provide your registration number, or basically your social security
equivalent
number.
of, yep.
Yeah, so that would be the Korean equivalent. So when I first moved to Korea, I actually couldn't play League of Legends for about 2 weeks because I didn't have an alien registration card. So I didn't have that number to actually log in. So that's why whenever teams come into boot camp, they actually have to be, they have to be provided those accounts by right. Of course, they want those anyway, so they don't have to level up, and they can be placed at about a diamond level to start things off for their ranked climb.
And the other issue is you can't move your account to Korea either.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're able to track your time played in PC bongs and whatnot. So actually, I forget what the age cutoff is, if it's 18 or 16, if you're trying to play League of Legends in a PC bong, because you're registered with that ARC, they'll actually just cut you off. Kicks you out of the game.
Age restriction is important here. What I want to touch on now is we do see an interesting strategic option. Because they've had so much trouble laning, that is going top lane and trying to kill the turret before anything. But we're going to see action finally.
Going to try to kill Roach first. Looks like they might be able to do it. One more auto attack will take him out. Songwon able to come up with the kill. Turret now going to be in danger. Cougar still has that bullet time if he can throw it out to try to clear the wave, but looks like he won't be able to get into a position to do so. But they get the turret, but the first brick still goes over to Soul, who's splitting down the bottom lane by himself. Going to push that wave right up to the tier 2. Might even be able to get some damage in onto that.
And ROX went all in to try to get the first brick. They realized that after entering bot lane and Songyun dying from full health, they needed to end the laning phase. The best way to do that was the rotation. Cougar,
not enough to kill him quite yet.
Not
just
level 11.
Yeah,
it wasn't level 11 either.
Oh,
actually
wow.
going to take a second turret as well. This is just Yomu's Ghostblade and 2 parts of the Infinity Edge. Able to just Yomu's away. But just to finish the point, it was smart for them, and you think, okay, you have to win the race. It's 2/3 health and you have a Ziggs, but to confirm the kill, they actually saw Ziggs use the satchel charge. Very long cooldown on that early. Didn't have the satchel charge up to
pop the turret.
To execute the turret, and thus the race goes to Soul. He gets a second turret as well. Big cost to pick up the 1 kill.
Yeah, that's definitely the most damning thing, is getting that tier 2. So nicely done by Soul, sticking around, knowing his limits, and just having his teammates to help track the recalls of ROX Tigers.
And just a judgment error from Sangyun. A kill is not worth losing first brick. First brick is so much gold, at 600 gold.
650, I think, over onto Soul, and that's enough for him to complete the Infinity Edge. So 2-item Jhin coming in, long sword on top of it. It's going to be doing quite a bit of damage, 1-0-1 on the scoreline, and really pushing ahead in the CS numbers.
Especially because 0 gold of the 33,000 has been spent on armor. There is no armor purchases at all from the ROX. It's not even a cloth armor into a Ninja Tabi. So, yeah, that 4th shot's killing anyone.
Yeah, he is going to be hurting even the likes of Shy on that Maokai.
But I actually like what ROX did. The laning phase, clearly, the moment, as I said, that you entered lane and died, you're like, okay, we still need to rotate this Ziggs. Keeping him stuck in 2v2 will not do that. Going top, going for that execute, sure. In the end, they kind of botched pulling off the first turret, but I like to see proactive plays when a team is behind, because it shows that they're thinking that next step and smart enough to have some game sense to try to look for something good out of a bad situation.
Oh, sure. Just a bit of a misjudgment and misplay there by Songyun to throw that satchel charge, where it would have been so crucial to get the first brick. That'll give a bit of a gold lead over to the side of Kongdoo Monster, 1.5 thousand, 22 minutes. It's nothing really to worry about if you're the ROX Tigers. If they continue to make these proactive plays and actually pull them off, start edging forward, then they might be able to turn this one around in their favor. Ocean Drake has spawned, second of the game. Kongdoo might be looking to make a move on that as they get some vision priority around the pit. Looks like they will go ahead and start this up. Should be able to take it out. Not really worth fighting over as far as the ROX Tigers should be concerned.
Guy's teleporting really deep here.
Oh yeah, Songwon actually
fight.
Comes in over the wall. Shy, they haven't yet seen him. Throws out the sapling, so they know where he's at now. Nice repel to dodge out the Ziggs ultimate, but he throws down the minefield punch in a bad spot. Has to flash out over the pit, but Shy is following forward with this Maokai. Songwon throws out that Prey Seeker, able to help confirm the kill. As Maokai will take this away. It's a 1-for-1 as Cougar finishes off Key. And looks like they're just going to go ahead and peel back.
A lot of the carries there were out of position, so we didn't actually see focus fire on any members, 1-for-1. But crucially, the Drake did go over to Kongdoo. Still, overall win for Kongdoo. Shy went for his teleport after the objective could not be picked up, and the damage dealers weren't in position to get 2 or 3 kills and punish them.
And Soul's going to get some, well, maybe not alone time as Shy does walk up. And Mickey is able to rejoin, but he got a couple shots in under the turret. That big 4th shot, taking off 300 HP from it. So, just chipping away at it as best as they can. So Kongdoo will still come out on top.
Yeah, still pretty finely poised. I think Kongdoo's just been playing smarter. Because again, teleport's channeled, objective is gone. So, unless the rest of the team is calling for you to saying, we can get the kills, we can clean this up, it feels like an overuse of the teleport. And sure, they get the Singe teleport as well, but they don't even get a favorable kill trade. To go for 1-for-1 is just, it's a slight loss to the ROX Tigers. Maybe it won't mean the most, but in terms of where the team is at strategically, it doesn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah. Definitely not looking good. I mean, and this was a team that looked like they were holding their own, at least initially in Game 1 versus KT Rolster. It was fairly close. As it went on, just a couple thousand goals separating
close
them.
Now.
Oh, sure, but I'm saying different caliber team. But ROX just haven't been able to pull off a favorable trade yet.
Yeah, I like the rotation top, but again, didn't get the maximum from that either, so... And early days.
And then they lost a hell of a lot of it on the back end, so...
It's very hard to work out what ROX Tigers' goal should be this season. Some people would say, pushing 6th, maybe even making that 5th place. Other people would say avoid relegation. So it's kind of an open story here, the ROX Tigers. It's delay tactics in full display.
Songyun threw out the big bomb as to clear out the wave. Buy some more time here for this mid lane turret. Looks like It'll be effective at least. Let's see how much longer they can hold on to this, though. Cougar has the bullet time, could use that as a zoning tool with the curtain call to try to push people away from the tower. Maybe even get a pick. But Roach, he's just going to keep being annoying. Rotates down to the bottom side of the map, just tossing Shy around as best as he can. He's just going to keep clearing out waves. He has nothing to worry about at the moment.
Do love using the team skins. The Samsung Singed was coming out from Roach. I saw the back animation was actually SKT from Marin. That was funny. Remembers his roots. Singed is being singed.
Yep, pretty much. Already has the Zerat portal completed with that Righteous Glory. Still 2 Dark Seals in the inventory. Hasn't been able to get any stacks onto that yet. Just the 1.
In case viewers are wondering, those stacks are not separate, so you don't have 2 stacks overall. It's just the 1 stack.
Yep. Now Kongdoo still just poking forward. I mean, they can pretty much control this entire bottom side of the jungle since that tier 1 tower has been taken. And if they can get mid as well, it's going to give them a lot of priority over Dragon. The Realm Warp thrown out. Edge not wanting to follow in. The turret hadn't died quite as quickly as he might have liked to be able to go in and try to find a pick.
Well, the War of Attrition is won by Kongdoo. They get the objective they want, and that's kind of been the difference. It's been a game of inches, but it's been Kongdoo inching forward, getting the objective, getting the Drake, taking the turret, which kind of separates the 2 teams. And you look at team comps, and they're kind of hard to evaluate. We're still in this new world of Zig's bot, where you're like, okay, I have an AD carry. Zig's strength, and the reason why we see it right now is the mid game is even more powerful than other AD carries at taking structures, which is one of the main goals of a auto attack carry, like for example, Ashe or a traditional AD carry. But in the late game, you know, really thinking about the damage types here, a lot of burst damage from Ziggs, but not a lot of consistent damage. A lot of physical burst damage from Jace. Some consistent damage, more about Shred with the Hyper. So very, very difficult to achieve is, okay, finally a curtain call.
There we go, curtain call opening up.
It's Roach.
Able to make his way out of the range. Fourth and final shot has not gone off yet. Will catch Songwon. Roach has come into the backside, but they just all turn right onto him and they take him out. Big bomb coming through Shy. He'll be able to walk away with his life. He goes forward with the Truth of Skies, trying to get onto Soul. Shock Blast connects. Songwon, can he finish him off? One more attack will do it, but Soul, wow, turning around, comes up with a kill, flashes away from the Shock Blast, gets the root onto Mickey, who's finished off by Cougar with the Make It Rain. Speaking of Cougar, in a bit of a rough spot, the short fuse passive does come up. He will fall. 3 kills picked up for ROX Tigers. They'll come out on top of that trade as they only lose 2. Edge is going to try to turn that around, though. Finds Key, comes in with a Realm Warp, and they'll hold on to the turret actually in the end. So at 3 for 3, turret still stands for Kongdoo. So even exchange for ROX, can't really ask for much more. Could have gone significantly worse for them, but man, Soul really showing off on the Jhin.
And look, AD carry in 2017 is a meme, but we saw Deft on the first day of the season go crazy on Ezreal. And then when we get to the back end of this fight, we can talk about Soul. We talked about some of those singed plays. This one was optimistic. Remember, not the most armor and magic. This just ended up dying. And Shy on the Maokai is always going to be better at eating focus fire. But Soul was Deft-esque in this play. The use of summoner spells in particular, able to walk away, knows his damage output, instant burst down, still has his flash up, flashes away, turns around, hits the deadly flourish as well. If you're being compared to Deft, that is a big compliment. And Soul, wonderful at IEM Gyeonggi, wonderful in the promotion series. This kid is coming together and maturing in front of our eyes.
Oh, for sure. And then we didn't see it, but Key, obviously going down right at the end of that as Edge is able to Realm Warp forward, finally got a kill credit on the board. So 1-0 for him, but 2-0-3 for Soul. Has the Lord Dominic's Regard completed, working on his Zeal at the moment. So he is going to be in such a strong position.
I really like what Roach did. So Roach and Maokai are proxying because, of course, it's singed. But he put down the Zerat portal super aggressively so that the minion wave could never get to the bottom outer turret and actually allow the Maokai to auto-attack it down. So it's intercepting the minion wave as if Singed was running in it. It's just whether he's there or not. So going to occupy Maokai's time. And the longer that you keep up an outer bot lane turret, you don't get your minion wave pushing into the inner to the inhibitor, the harder it is to take Baron, because you need that vision, those minions pushing to take objectives on the other side of the map.
Yep. And speaking of on the other side, Edge, the top lane, finally able to knock down that final tier 1 tower. So Kongdoo, still not the largest of leads, 2,500 just about, but continuing to press these advantages. Have 3 dragons with that mountain coming in most recently, and now just taking away the jungle of ROX Tigers.
And my impression is, again, like mid-game Ziggs, mid-game Jace, Ryze in the late game, very powerful. Jhin in the late game is not the most threat on him unless they get a really nice flank from the Maokai. So I think you just have to take the multiple different ways that AD carries scale over a Ziggs. So I really do think you inch forward. Maokai would take over Singed. I think Maokai is by far the strongest tank in the late game, but I give the slight advantage in the late game to Kongdoo, and then very simply they've got the Drakes, they've got the early lead, they've had the map control. So Kongdoo are ahead, and this game, if ROX don't make something big happen in the next 5 minutes, it feels like we move past their real area of efficiency with items.
It's such a tough position to be in if you're ROX, because the easiest tower that you could take would be that bottom tier 1, but you can't even do that because Singed has just been denying waves from moving forward. Sangyu is actually going to be able to get a lot of damage in, does have that Lich Bane completed as his second item with now a Void Staff on top of it, so he is able to get a bit of damage in.
Kongdoo want to fight.
Yeah, Roach has run up from the bottom side of the map, pops a ghost, maybe looking for a way in, or maybe just proxying some more minions. ROX, do they want to pile in, dump everything in onto the sand?
On Jhin.
The answer is no. Turn call coming through. Soul's going to take a hell of a lot of damage. The bomb thrown out from Songyu will work him down. That's effectively going to take him out of the fight. Big Root coming through on Edge. Pop-up with the ultimate from Key. They take him out. Edge completely gone, not even able to flash out the safety. Big twisted advance forward from Shy. Going to get rooted. Tossed back in underneath the tower. Still alive, but he goes out. Finally, his Soul is able to finish him. Gets a root for the Deadly Flourish onto Mickey, who is finished off by Punch. So 2 picked up for the 1 of Kongdoo Monster, and they will continue to trade favorably.
Yeah, ROX Tigers thought that was their fight, but then Shy went under turret and is not terribly tanky against the damage from Jhin. Consider, the only armor he had was Sunfire, where you're paying a lot of gold for both health and the damage passive. Soul opens up, and it's interesting that the enemy AD carry, or at least the enemy bot laner in Ziggs, is the one that basically dissuades him from ulting. He just ults him himself, he's rooted in place. And Soul is low in health, Edge is dead, and you're like, alright, this is the ROX Tigers fight. They burst down the Ryze, they don't have the same threat. But when Shy goes under turret, watch how quickly he dies to Soul. 800 is the 4th shot because Shy doesn't have 2 to 3 armor items, doesn't even have a Ninja Tabi. Nice turnaround from Kongdoo. ROX don't know their own limitations.
All right, well, Kongdoo, they're going to push theirs to the limit as they start up this Baron. Scrying Orb does come down in the pit. Ziggs Bomb comes through, but it's actually going to be picked up the last hit here from Edge. So Baron does go over to Kongdoo Monster. Can they exit safely is the question, and the answer looks like it's going to be yes. Mickey has to go down to the bottom lane to answer that wave that's starting to chip away at the inhibitor turret. Roach looking for a toss, but won't be able to get to Songwan. He tunnels out to safety towards that tier 2, but now Kongdoo Monster grouped up in the mid lane, going to be looking to knock down a tier 2 tower. Another one for that matter. But wave clear is still there from the Songyun, from Mickey. They'll go ahead, peel back. They have a lot of gold to spend.
And Singed impact this game is very deceptive. You know, he's 50 CS down, 0, 2, and 4. We've seen him run into teams and die. We've seen him blow Ghost and do nothing. You might think, okay, this game's being won in spite of Singed. But the bot lane situation, where the minions have been pushing in so aggressively, where the outer bot lane turret is still up, is what has allowed the safety for Kongdoo to go for this Baron, because the ROX Tigers have to keep tending. It's basically, there's like an overgrown, there's weeds growing again and again in the bot lane. They have to keep gardening them because they can't take the outer bot lane turret, so therefore the objective on the other side of the map, the Baron, is safer and safer for Kongdoo. And now they're finally sending multiple members bot with the Baron buff, and Singed. It's literally the map pressure he's caused, but the map pressure has been very important.
Yeah, and they get the flash away from Songwon, one of the few people that can actually get into the backline, get on top of Soul. Is not going to be able to tunnel forward, flash in, and get that on Burrow. So Kongdoo Monster just winning this game an inch at a time. Going to be looking to change that figure pretty soon as they move the wave up, try to get onto this tier 2 tower. Cougar will go pretty low as he eats the bomb from Songyun. But Roach now throwing that Zerat portal in right at the blue buff. And is going to start trying to whittle away at that final tier 2 turret. For the ROX Tigers, Kurt Cole opened up, going to be looking for Songyun.
Finds
for
Key.
this. He
He's
might still be
dead.
able to find the kill. No, fourth bullet not going to connect, but that shoves him back and takes him low enough that they can just push right forward, take out that turret. 746 damage on the final shot from Soul. They knock it down. Just one more turret standing in the top lane. And then it's on to the inhibitor turrets here for Kongdoo Monster.
And the zoning there, important from Roche. Basically, Curtain Cole plus Singed Ghost, everyone needs to back away because there is always that threat of the flip. No one is tanky enough for the 4 shots. Not even the Maokai, who's got a counter Zerat portal of his own, just to try.
True desperation.
We haven't actually touched on it this season, but the big change with Zerat portal duration is that the minions die a lot faster. Basically, they last 5 seconds instead of 10. So you need to actually position the Zerat portal more aggressively, but the damage to turrets is much higher. So it's all about, okay, if we have map pressure and I can put this Zerat portal, 1,000 units, not even much more, away from the enemy turret, it'll actually have a real effect on taking that turret. So even though Singed auto-attacking doesn't kill turrets very fast, the Zerat portal and him proxying minions is enough to create turret pressure from a Singed.
Yep. And he's going to keep maintaining that, sees that. Shy has his own Zerat portal, should be very easy for him to walk up, sees him popping right out of the brush. So just 5 hits, and there we go.
Well, we don't see that lane for a while.
Yep, we can leave them be. He's roaming down, but I don't think that his presence is really going to change anything when it comes to taking out Roach.
Nope. This is Singed. I, for one, invite our Singed overlords. I'm a fan. More Singed, less Maokai, please.
I want to see some Singed played not in the top lane. Show me some mid lane Singed. That would be intriguing. It'd be pretty awful, but it'd be intriguing.
I mean, I've seen it in solo queue, but you can say that about basically any combination of lane and champion. Singed support. Where's the world where that works?
I don't know.
I don't think it can work, but that's definitely... I mean, you would have said the same thing about MF support, so... Who's to say what the definites are in League of Legends last year? Certainly created some very crazy scenarios.
Well, I'm sure Riot is happy to see Singed potentially back in the meta. He's kind of on the cusp of it. Still very niche, but he gets taken off the list of potential remake champions for them.
So one small item purchase I want to touch on is the Edge of the Night by the Jhin. We don't see a lot of this item. Obviously, Kha'Zix and some of the other serrated Dirk abusers might pick it up. But the big story here is there's 2 times when he wants to pop it. Usually when it's an AD carry, you pop it when you're sieging, so you have 10 seconds of safety. But actually the interaction here for Soul is to pop it before the Curtain Call ult, and then you don't have to respect the Ziggs bomb, which is the only ranged thing that either hurts or really will dissuade him from ulting. So that's a really interesting purchase that he definitely didn't have in the recommended build. Or this is not a ProBuilds.net pickup here. This is just a really smart adaptation because no one other than Ziggs, and I guess you could say a Maokai teleport flank that we've seen none of so far this game, will threaten. And yeah, really cool. And another thing that Soul's very on board here. He's a big Jhin player. He's actually the first Jhin player in Korea back in spring 2016, I believe it was. Maybe even 2015 summer. I forget now when Jhin was released, but he was the first to play it even before Prey, who went on to become associated with the champion.
I think it was spring round 2, because I started casting and I remember us having our first Jhin.
Okay, there you go. You're on the ball there, Kilios, and so are Kongdoo Monster. They're playing this right. Sure, it's a bit slow. Between everything, this has been a 70-minute game because of the pauses.
Yeah, effectively. But, see, that final outer turret does go down. Kongdoo Monster poised to pick up this second Baron that's going to be spawning in about 45 seconds. Outside of that, Elder Dragon going to be a ways away. See that one come up, but I mean, Kongdoo, either way, either the Baron or the Elder Dragon, definitely some juicy targets for them with those 4 dragon buffs that they have.
Poke still hurts a lot. No armor purchases outside of Singed. Means that Jace EQ is still doing a lot. Now, naturally, as you get bigger health pools, you get a little bit more sturdy. Even Misfortune can take 2 before she's at about 100 health.
I find it interesting that Nikki opted to go for the Mortal Reminder. It's not a whole lot of...
Singed?
I mean, do you really want to commit an item just to kill the Singed?
I mean, if he's in the face of your Ziggs, yeah.
I suppose.
You really need to. There's nobody who's really getting benefit from the Black Cleaver. It's not even a Tiamat Rek'Sai, so he's the only one. So it's not just turn on the Siege, take away 25% of his armor, and have your AD carry kill him. So any help there is for Ziggs to do damage, I think is pretty important. So I understand, at the start, but anything to help kill the Singe is a happy time for the ROX Tigers.
Fair enough. I will accept your answer. Speaking of Singed, and the Ziggs, there he goes. Still gets the toss off the satchel charge and Songyun. Oh dear, nowhere to go. And yeah, Mortal Reminder's still not going to do enough to take him out. Still full HP. Edge now coming into the base, locks down Key, takes him out. 3 members of ROX Tigers dead, 40+ seconds on the clock, and I think this is going to be the game right here. Shy still has that Guardian Angel, gets a big shield from Courage the Colossus, but it still gets popped all the same, and Kongdoo Monster, a big hit from Soul, takes him out. They are poised to win the game right here at about 42 minutes.
And this time Singed actually team fights well too. It wasn't just running around and dying, it wasn't the gardening, it was actually a really nice pick, as once that
Goodbye.
flip is cast, it overrides other abilities, got it in, got the flip, goodbye Ziggs. Ziggs now 1 and 2, negative record for that bot lane Ziggs, and Kongdoo Monster vindicating some of the higher expectations. It wasn't necessarily a nail biter, but Kongdoo did it right. They did it smart. It wasn't a tutorial victory, but it felt like one. And it's the sort of game where the coach is like, guys, you did exactly what you needed to do.
This is one of those times where I really would like to see the damage charts here, especially for Soul. 606 on the Jhin, so not the 17-2 performance that we did see at IEM from him, but still, knowing his limitations very well.
I mean, the highlight of the
on
game,
the edge of the knife.
Highlight of the game definitely his outplay around the blue buff, just
popping Songwon.
It's players like Faker and Deft where their summoner spell usage, they never blow flash when they don't need to. They never blow heal when they don't need to. And he was so on point with all of his resources and his understanding. And in the chaos, people make mistakes. And the best players, they thrive in that chaos.
Yep. Well, you can still see some smiles on the faces of the ROX Tigers, so maybe not discouraged by the Game 1 loss, but certainly going to have to turn on the heat when they come back in for Game 2, because Kongdoo looking very consistent still. Soul on this Jhin, an unstoppable force, and you have to think that Tigers are going to have to try to either ban this out or take it away very early on in the draft.
Competitive second is still second, Achilleos, and no wins so far for the new ROX Tigers.
Yep. Well, we'll see if they're going to be able to change that. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll have Game 2. We'll see if Tigers can put a win on the board, if Kongdoo will close out 2-0.